Happy Sunday night and welcome to the Park Adventurers Club. Thank you guys so much for being with us. We love having you here on a Sunday night. If you were with us on our past adventures, those have come to an end, but we are here having new adventures on the Park Adventurers Club, so please make sure to subscribe to parkadventuresclub.com, and also please make sure to give this video a thumbs up or a like, as it helps people to find us. And tonight we've pulled a quorum together of some of our finest. Starting with Stephanie, what's going on?
Howdy, everybody. Happy to be here on the PAC.
On the PAC, yes, ma'am. And then, of course, Mr. Patrick Hackett. What's up?
Rob, we're going up, up, up till it's golden.
Yes, sure. Okay. Anyway, thank you guys for being here, and a big shout out to our pack. We love the pack, our Park Adventurers Club. Every member, we appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you so much. I know you have other options you could do on your Sunday nights. Thank you for being here instead of with the VMAs. But again, if you
those still exist.
Yeah, it's happening right now. It's a bold move when you go up against the VMAs, but I think this team is ready to take it on. Tonight, as in always, with the Park Adventurers Club, it is a club, so we will call the meeting to order. Have this fancy gavel, and so why not show it off every now and then? Of course, because we are a meeting, we have a meeting agenda, and so let's take a look at tonight's agenda. We're going to start with some old park news, reading of the minutes, the things that have happened since the last time that we all met. The Dinosaur official last day has been announced. The new attractions have been hinted at for Universal. HHN No Scare Medallion, the new Soarin Costumes, and then the Beak and Barrel officially opened, even though we've been talking about it for a while. And then our main topic tonight, the new business, will be breaking down all of the D23 announcements, and we're calling them D23 for short, but it was Destination D23 that happened last weekend, which is why we weren't on. But we got a lot to talk about with that, but let's go through the minutes first, and first talk about the fact that Dinosaur's official last day. We knew that Dinosaur would be with us, the attraction at Animal Kingdom, not the beast, the dinosaur, but the attraction would be with us until the end of 2025. I thought that meant like as soon as we closed down Christmas, it was done, but apparently it's going to be there through February 1st for some odd reason. I'm not really sure why. I'm sure Disney has a plan. Let go, let Disney, I always say. So Stephanie, what are your thoughts on this new announcement? Do you have any thoughts, or are you gonna you sad it's going? Talk to me.
I am going to say how I'm going to poo-poo the announcement because I want it to stay past President's Day weekend because that's when we always have our winter break, and that's when we get down there with the kids. And I think that that's the race weekend. They would have a lot of people that come in for that, or around the race weekend. So why not I guess a week or two. Disney has, time crunches, and they do everything on time and on budget. So of course, they got to get it done February 1st.
And Patrick, what are your thoughts on this situation?
It is crazy to me that you have to walk through a giant tunnel of walls to get to Dinosaur. What are we doing? Why are you keeping it open for even a second longer? What's the point? This is the slowest death ever. February 1st, just close the doors. Everybody who had a meaningful goodbye has probably said it. Just close our beloved Dinosaur doors, and I guess bring on Indy or Mutt. Let's make it a Mutt-based attraction.
Make it Mutt? Yeah, let's give a shout out, right? Shia LaBeouf animatronic,
yeah.
Long overdue.
Do it. Yeah.
See, I like what you did there with the just do it. Hey, let's take a second to give a shout out. We have a super chat. Feel the force. Our good friend Jungle Cruiser said, all I have to say is if the Walt coming to WDW is better than DLR, then we will have words.
Oh, we'll have words soon. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
So, in other words, the one that has come to Main Street at Disneyland. That happened on July 17th of this year, and I've seen it. I think it plays better in person than it does online, but I think everybody needs the chance to see it. Again, the argument I always come up with is the animatronic and where it fits in the show is great. The argument always comes back to should it be a thing that happened, and we'll talk about that in the back half of the show when we're talking about the D23 announcement. So please stick with us until then. But let's move on to our next item on the agenda, which is there was an announcement from Mark Woodbury. Is Mark our Josh? Is that who he is?
Yes.
Over at Universal, and that Mark Woodbury teased that there would be. Here, he actually has that kind of vibe about him, doesn't he? He had teased that there would be more attractions in development at Universal Orlando. And this is my favorite part, Patrick, and I'll come to you about your thoughts on this. Ooh. But he says we have attractions in the works, not just at Epic, but when you have 3 parks.
3 parks!
Not 4.
3 parks!
He said it. The man said it right here. He said it. 3 parks. The cadence of the product delivered across 3 parks. Right. So they have 3 parks. Patrick, talk to me about your thoughts here.
Indicated.
I am just glad they have finally admit that they have only 3 parks. My Chiron is wrong, but I'll deal with it. It is a fantastic idea that they're going to expand these plots. I personally would like to see less IP-based lands and more of the original lands that they kind of have planned. It's obvious they have big plans for Epic, but what's going to happen in the other 2 parks? Where's the expansion space? Honestly, why are we still doing Marvel Superhero Island? Can we not figure out something with that? Retheme it? I mean, you're not going to expand Seuss. Are you going to expand the Lost Continent? I don't know, but Epic definitely seems primed for expansion pads, and I would love to see original ideas instead of IP. I don't think I'm going to get that, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, again, sorry for that.
Yes.
Sorry for that. You know what? I just like Stephanie better. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm just going to put
Absolutely.
that out there.
Understood.
I wish you were Stephanie. I wish you were.
Oh,
like, that's the
wow.
thing. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah.
no. I just thought you thought I looked good in pink.
Wow. Okay, Stephanie, thoughts on this? You were just at Universal.
I was, and it was an epic day. I went to just Epic. We didn't do the other parks, but I will say I wish that they had more dark rides. Little kid, non-height restricted, dark rides. And that's because my 3-year-old kept going, Mommy, I want to ride something. And then she could ride maybe 2 things, 3 things, I guess, at the max, because the fire drill one gets you wet, and, people hate to get wet necessarily. So Yoshi and the Carousel are really the only things that she could ride. So I would love to see it because adults and children alike love the dark ride. And I think it could work. It could work really well.
Well, and there's rumor that there's supposed to be a Creature from the Black Lagoon boat ride that's going to be added to Epic Universe. I saw Great Number 8 said, "Don't you dare touch Spider-Man." I don't know how you could.
I love
it's
Spider-Man.
the best. It's like the best attraction that's ever been.
Yes,
yeah,
it is.
So I mean,
It is.
if you do, I'm with you. We always say what's untouchable. I feel like that one should be because the IP is relevant and it's a great ride and yeah. So one thing
literally nothing else is untouchable other than ET, I think. Legitimately.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I love this line from Mark as well, where he says, "If you fly over Epic or look at Google Earth, you'll see how we plan the park, and you'll see greenfield space between the existing worlds, and that's strategically positioned to give us flexibility to expand and blah blah blah." And I'm thinking, if you look at Google Earth, aren't we all just following BioReconstruct? So we all already know that where the hotel plots are, where they have expansion pads. I don't know.
Disney had that once with World Showcase, and they still sit.
I got to tell you, I was going to ask you guys as part of this, like, what things do we think that they need to replace in the old parks? But I really feel like the Simpsons Land. Patrick has talked about this a bunch. That's your competitor's IP. I feel like the Simpsons Land need to be replaced. I've heard rumor of a Pokemon Land. I think we heard that for the DreamWorks Land originally. It was going to be back there. It ended up being DreamWorks Land. We know there's a new coaster or a new attraction coming in the spaces that used to be taken by like the Rip Ride Rocket. So I don't know. They've still got a lot of stuff coming, which is great. They need to keep infusing people and excitement into those original two parks, and they've got a lot of expansion opportunity here. So it's a good dawn. And then also I feel like it's nice to have some competition out there to keep people. To keep Disney on their toes so that they don't fall back and just not do anything.
Rob, when I was preparing for my cruise I took, I followed Royal Caribbean blog, and Matt Hopper, big time old school Twitter, Disney influencer kind of person, and now focuses mostly on Royal Caribbean. There is not just competition between the theme parks now. The cruises are building up in Port Canaveral, and they want to make that a big port, and they're trying to either steal days away from Disney vacations or take people completely out of Disney vacations. The cruises are coming for the theme parks, and Disney, I think, knew that.
Good. Get some people out of the parks so I don't have to wait so long. That's what I say.
Agreed.
Yeah, I would love that to be a thing. So back to our agenda, one of the other things that has happened is that, speaking of Universal, is that they announced these No Scare medallions, these necklaces that you could buy for... I'm still trying to wrap my head around this. For HHN, for Halloween Horror Nights, if you're going to something called Horror Nights, you assume that you want to be scared. And I guess it's not much different than, wearing a poncho on Kali River Rapids. Like, you get on a water ride, but you don't want to get wet. But it's not even a promise that you won't get scared. And it's just for the scare zones. It's not for when you go into the houses. And it's interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine who'd never been to HHN, and she was like, "Can you make your way around the park without actually going through a scare zone?" And I thought about it. I actually talked to Annie about it too, and she's like, "You can't, because the scare zones are there."
There's some outside the bathrooms, which was the worst part for me. There is no solace.
There is no escaping the horror that you paid money to go be scared at. Stephanie, did you see this? I mean, again, you've got kids.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure there was some interest in this. Like, put one around the 3-year-old, but why would you take her to HHN in the first place?
Take the kids. It would be for me. I don't want to be scared like that, especially if you can't avoid the scare zones. I have interest in the houses. I have interest in. I like to be scared, but I don't want to be touched. I don't want to be like right in my face about things. I kind of want to like see it from a distance a little bit there, but I don't like the interaction, up close interaction. So yes, I would definitely have this. I would definitely shell out the money for this for myself, especially if they ignore me and it wasn't something that, they couldn't come up close to me. They just ignore me.
So you would just like to witness other people's misfortune,
yes,
is what you're
basically.
saying. You would rather not have that rain down upon you. Give
Correct.
me the $20 upgrade. So you pay what, $80 to get in, and then you pay an extra $20 not to be scared, and then you probably pay another $400 for an express pass. No problem. Patrick, thoughts on this?
I think it's a great idea. I had a friend who recently went, and she did not want to be scared outside of when she was going to be scared. And I think it worked really well. That was my least favorite part of Horror Nights, is that I just want some time to walk around the park, to decompress, to maybe eat, to maybe come out of the bathroom. I didn't say there were scare zones inside the bathroom, but I am creeping out of the bathroom looking around for these idiots with chainsaws. I think it's a great idea. I'll pay $20 for you to leave me alone. I wish there was more of that. Give me lots of passes. Give me like a Disney should do that at the character dinings that they don't want. Just put a thing on the table. I don't want to be bothered with your stupid ketchup. Here's my thing. I paid extra to just give me ketchup.
I've got a great solution for you. It's called Mickey's Not So Scary. It's right down the street. You don't need to buy the extra medallion. But it reminds me of like, I don't know why, but it
But I
reminds
want
me
to
of
be
this.
scared, Rob. I want to be scared. I don't want to be scared when I'm not expecting it. So when I go into a house, I am expecting to be scared. I know there's going to be scary stuff in there. I know there's going to be jump scares. When I'm out in the park and I have a beverage and some food, I do not want to be jump scared.
Makes sense.
Well, what I was going to say was it reminds me a little bit for some strange reason of the Sneetches. Like where it's like I want to get my star, but then now I want to get my star off. I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense why that came to mind. Withdrawn. We're going to edit that. We'll take it out. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. So I was at Disney last week, and I went to EPCOT for the EPCOT Food and Wine Festival, and I know Stephanie, you stopped by that as well. And so for the on that day, on the day that I went, which was I think Sunday the 31st, I noticed that there was we went and rode Soarin, and I noticed that there were new costumes for the cast members, which I was surprised by, because they usually have like those pilot costumes with the long sleeves and the jackets and everything, and so they've got these new uniforms, these new costumes that they're wearing, very very much a more casual look. And this was the day that it happened, because I was talking to my wife. I was like, that looks different. I don't know that how new that is. And then I kind of looked around and found out that it was literally that day that we were there that they happened. So I went up and talked to a cast member, and I said, do you guys like the new costumes? And she said, yeah, they're a lot more breathable. And I thought, well, you know what? You need to suffer for your craft. If the theme is we're at an airport, look like a freaking captain. That's what I say.
Did you just say the cast members have to suffer for their craft?
I'm kidding.
They are indoors.
I'm kidding. Am I kidding? No, I'm kidding.
I don't know. That's why I questioned it.
You know what? Part of it, we'll never know. Part of it is that when I was a cast member there, the things we had to wear were horrific. And I've mentioned this before, being on the land boat ride and having a powder blue polyester jumpsuit. With a mock turtleneck and a belt around the middle. They couldn't have have come up with something worse, but the idea was this is like a farmer sort of a situation. And then like the outfit we wore in Imagination was like a purple polyester with like a vest over top of the mock neck. It was a thing.
Yeah,
so,
the vests are bad.
So when I go back and I see them like wearing like the casual like mock Roosevelts with like shorts, I'm just like, really? What are we doing here, folks? Like, I don't know. Stephanie, I need to have your opinion on this one. What do you think?
Luckily, I was there the first day of Food and Wine on the 28th, so I missed all of this terribleness. But I hate I hate the non-theming. That's what I hate. I heard something recently, a saying that said, you always think the best decade was the decade that you were 13 in. And so for me, that's the 90s. And I think that the theming was the best in the 90s. And I just wish that we could get back to that. The sustainable, changing to the sustainable materials, okay, go ahead, that's fine. But can we please have them themed correctly? The worst case of this are the poor Voices of Liberty. These people have amazing voices. They're wonderful at what they do, and their outfits are atrocious. They're horrible. They don't look anything like the period in which they are supposed to be coming from in the 1700s, you know. I don't know who is in charge of this, but it must be the same person that's doing all the majority of the refurbishments of the hotels that I hate too. So put all the designers on blast.
So here are the cast members who were kind enough to stop and pose for me, and they're the ones that I talked about. So bless the cast members. I'm joking. Maybe again, Patrick. What are your thoughts, Patrick?
First and foremost, shout to the pack in the chat. Ed said that Rob had to walk uphill both ways to Magic Kingdom when he was a cast member.
That's right.
But a couple people brought up some really great points. They don't look like captains anymore because Patrick is the only captain. They look like flight attendants. Now, if you want to complain about theming at that attraction, what's it themed to? It doesn't look like a terminal. They should just bring in the MCO carpet. We all know and love the MCO carpet. Just bring that with you. That's where the theming is lacking. These costumes are fine. I do agree that we've seen a reduction in style for the costumes, but I hope they're making cast members more comfortable. They don't pay them enough to be uncomfortable. So, breathable materials is the best. Do they still have hazard pay if they're working at Tomorrowland Speedway for all the fumes? Like, come on, what are we doing?
By the way, again, never far away, and Stephanie, you and I talked about this when we did the Castaways, an episode of your show. Never far away from me is this is my belt that I wore when I was on Listen, not Living With, but Listen to the Land. So it was this color. And it was powder blue. Am I wrong? That's powder blue, right? And
that is definitely powder blue.
Yeah, and it was it was an outfit that shouldn't have been belted, but here's the belt, and I did accidentally abscond with it so that I could have it and just remember the times. So there it is. There's the beauty.
I saw a great TikTok about living with the land. Why can't we just take a tube in there and make it a lazy river? I would love that so much. I would spend all day there.
That's why, because we can't have those nice things. That's a thing that we can't do.
Because people like me will just sit in a tube at Living with the Land.
Exactly. We're almost back to our main topic, but the last piece of new business is that the Beak and Barrel is officially open, and it is harder to get into than name it. Like, I don't know, Club 54? Is that a Studio 54? Is that a thing? If you go into the My Disney Experience app, that you can look and see that every date that is available is taken. However, every now and then I will tell you that they do open up. So if you're using some third-party app to try to track it, there are some times where you can maybe possibly get a reservation, but it's still new. Geo 82 is starting to open up, so more people are able to get in there, and we did that one with a day of reservation, but I do think that people are still going in trying to see Beak and Barrel. And Stephanie, you actually got to go in the doors of the Beak and Barrel, so I would love to have some account from you as to your thoughts on the vibe, the show, the food, the drinks, rummy, all that stuff.
The vibe is pretty cool. I will say that. They only give you 45 minutes, and it's a hard and fast 45. They will put you to a 2-drink maximum, so you can order a refill or try a different one. Pretty much everything is alcoholic. There's 2 non-alcoholic offerings on the menu, and one of them is decent, and the other one is just like a cold chocolate milk, which, whatever, if you like chocolate milk, that's fine. So let's see, the cachapas, if I'm saying that correctly, from the Jungle Skipper canteen. They have a more hefty portion of that on the menu. They have like a plantain chips and dips kind of platter that you can get, and they have octopus. And that's pretty much it. So when you first walk in, everybody, the theming is fantastic. The rooms are all kind of different, and you want to walk around and see how everything is lit. And there's little, things that happen on different times in different rooms. So you want to kind of experience all of it. Rummy is great. He is very similar to, the Mission Breakout over at Disney California Adventure, but he definitely fits in well with the whole ambiance of everything. And there's an episode where he will come out and you'll hear the singing of the sirens, and everybody, it's almost like Andy's coming over at Backyard Barbecue. Everyone in the room is supposed to cover their ears. You don't want to get caught by the sirens. So but it's fun. It's very much an Oga's Cantina, and that's it. So do not go there expecting that you're going to get a dinner or you're going to leave hungry.
Well, and like Oga's, when Oga's first opened, Oga's was the same way. Oga's was, you could be in there for 45 minutes and then they were going to come after you. Yes. I did not get in when I was there because I just wasn't. They just were like, no, you're not allowed in here. We heard what you said about the Soarin Costumes. You're not allowed in here.
Oh, where's your skip the line paid for DVC pass now, Rob?
Oh no.
Can I just tell you, this is completely not about any of this, but the night that we did the so we went for Destination D23, they encouraged you, it wasn't really part of D23, to go to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party on Friday night, and who am I to turn down Disney when they asked for my money? And so we went to the Mickey's Not So Scary, and there was a benefit that you could get, and I think maybe Jayware, who is in the pack, may have mentioned this somewhere along the line, but I had heard it from one or two other places that if you were a DVC member and you were in the park for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, and you went into the Mile High House. I always say that wrong. The McKim's Mile High House.
I think it's just
Mile House. Mile High House is a little different, Rob. A little different.
Yeah. Anyway, so I if you go in there during the party and you can get a Halloween bag that says membership magic on it, by the way, Patrick. So it's like if you got it, it would be stolen valor for you, since you don't have the magic. But you had to know that it was there. Then you had to like be there for a Halloween party, and then you had to go get it. And it's like, and then you walk in, and every other amenity they have was shut down. Like you could sit in a chair, but they didn't have the food and the snacks and the drinks and things like that. So it was just like, come inside, get your bag, and then get out. Welcome home. That's exactly how that went down. So, but I did like getting a free bag. It was one of those that like rolls up into like little thing. So anyway, there was that. But I do want to say that we have another super chat from our good friend Jungle Cruiser, I believe, and so cue the sound. Here it is. There it is. And so the super chat is as follows. Patrick, I don't want to see bathing suits at Epcot. That would be horrifying. I'm already
that's a really good point.
Having anxiety.
Valid point. Yeah, so, withdrawn. Comment withdrawn.
Yeah. So again, thank you, Jungle Cruiser. Appreciate you. One last thing I want to say about the Beak and Barrel before we move on is that they have a shoulder plush of Rummy. Mm-hmm. So they do have merch, which I find interesting. So that I guess for the kids, so that they can tell everybody they went to the pirate bar at Magic Kingdom. But you've got Rummy, and then they've got water bottles and and looks like lounge flies. They may not be specific to it. And then the T-shirts were there too. So they do have merch for it. If you are in the Magic Kingdom, you can buy merch even if you can't get in to the place. You can buy merch, which I don't think is there merch for Oga's specifically or for Geo82 specifically?
Maybe a pin for Oga's. I think I might have seen an Oga's pin.
Yeah. Dawn said, "Oh wow, the plush is very cute." So yes, Dawn, cute. You will need one for each shoulder.
I'm just sad that there's a bar in the Magic Kingdom.
Right.
I can't believe it happened. I was told that it would be a slippery slope once Be Our Guests got there, and it really has been. Why isn't this just a restaurant that has drinks? Yeah. It's I don't dig it. I'm not gonna wait and try to get in on it. I do want to see the animatronic, but this isn't for me. Even as somebody who is a drinker, I'm not. I don't want that in the Magic Kingdom. It's bad enough at Epcot.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I agree as well. There was something that was very special about the fact that both the Disneyland Park and Magic Kingdom did not have alcohol, and both of those were broken for different reasons. One, for Oga's, and the other for, I believe it was Be Our Guest and wine. Right, that was the first Band-Aid rip. Right, now you can get a cocktail at the Plaza restaurant, and so there, and obviously you can get drinks at Skipper, and now you can get drinks there too. So so interesting. Anyway, let's move on to our topic of the night. There was a big deal that happened last weekend, ish big deal, and D23, Destination D23. Now let's remind. So we want to give our reactions tonight. Let's remind everybody that Destination D23 is not the same as D23. D23 Expo happens in California every other year. They pull Bob Iger and Josh, and they gather around and they kind of make some big reveals. They actually had at the Honda Center last year a huge presentation. It was a couple hours, and it was almost, I heard people say it was better than the entertainment panel, where they rolled out all of these things. Now, the bad news is that after they rolled out all of these great things and was like, look, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And then secretly the next week, they let us know all the things we were going to lose because of it. So a week before D23 happened, or Destination D23 happened, they had a press event at Walt Disney World where they came in and they said, here's the things that are happening. We covered it on our show that week, but they were like, hey, here's what the new Buzz cars are going to look like, and Buzz Lightyear is shut down, but here's what it's going to look like when it's open again. And November 7th is the date for Zootopia. And they kind of ran through a whole bunch of stuff. And so all of us are looking around going, first we knew that they weren't going to have a parks panel. Then we were like, well, they'll probably pepper in announcements. And then they were like, okay, here's a bunch of announcements 1 week out. And then we're like, okay, what's the deal? And then we had Destination D23, and then the day after, or 2 days after, then they make more announcements about Dinosaur, and it's just like, okay, what is it? My theory had been that you were in front of some rabid Disney World fans, and you didn't want to say anything that they might get upset about, because you don't want them, you don't want your audience booing. That's why, I honestly, I think that's why they send out Yvette Nicole Brown for the movie panels rather than the head of the studios, is so that she can, who's going to be mad at her? She's such a nice lady. So I read some people saying ahead of time, like, oh, there's no parks panel, why should I go? But I don't think that's ever really been the case for Destination D23. It's always been just kind of a gathering where they kind of showcase a vibe. And this one was about, like, around the worlds of Disney. I love it. I love sitting in the room. I can't never say where it happens afterwards, but I love sitting in that room and like hearing Don Hahn or Jodie Benson or Susan Egan and all these people that, like, it means something to me to hear them talk. Leslie Iwerks and all of the things that Becky from the archives. Love all the presentations, and I don't need it always to be, park announcements, but I figured there would be some. I thought there was going to be some during Villains, but that's a thing. So what I want to do is kind of run down some of the ones that they had and talk about them. The very first one I want to talk about was one that, Stephanie, I know you were so excited, or you were so passionate about this that you were literally, I think even before I tweeted this, I texted you and said, oh my God, did you hear? And so it was that they had a presentation about building the castles and what it takes to build a castle and castles around the world. And they said, we are going to repaint the Cinderella Castle at Walt Disney World back to its original color palette. And I was like, I know somebody who's been screaming for this. And by the way, the roar in the room was like almost deafening when they announced it. But I was like, I know somebody who really cares about this. And Stephanie, I can see you just grinning. Are you excited?
I'm ecstatic. I was shocked because I didn't think this would ever happen. Long, long ago, pre-COVID, the Disney World 50th anniversary, when they announced that they were going to put this color scheme up, I was skeptical. I was like, this looks like Disneyland Paris. It looks like the Disneyland, it looks like Sleeping Beauty Castle, because it's the blue and the pink and that scheme. And Cinderella is not that. Cinderella, if anything, is more of a grayish, light blue, that kind of scheme. So I was sad that they did it, but I was like, I wonder if they're going to keep that, because it kind of makes a cohesion sense, synergy across all of their different parks. And so the fact that they are listening to fans in this, because I think it looks the best at its original color, and I'm just bring back the dream lights. Just give us everything that we want. Come on, just turn it back and then put the dream lights on there and we'll be happy.
Well, I love that they have the coach out here. Do you think they'll put the coach? Because this is definitely not what the hub looks like right now. So this is very Thomas Kincaid that they've got going here. But yeah, I'm excited about it. I don't know the dream lights. I don't know. Patrick, what are your thoughts on this one?
It's really funny you mentioned the carriage, because my daughter noticed the carriage before she noticed the paint job. She was like, is Cinderella's carriage going to be there? So that was very exciting for her. I'm in between. I don't mind the castle. I think I've said before that, I view that castle as my castle, and this one's my daughter's. This is the one that she's grown up with and she's seen. But the castle's going to be beautiful. It's going to be the most photographed thing in the world, and I'm happy for the people that it makes happy.
i.e. Stephanie.
Yay!
I always thought that part of it had to do with them working with the team that does the projections, and then that maybe that's why they made the color palette different for the people who do the projections. But and I think that a lot of people thought maybe that the original one was like maybe too. I don't want to say plain, but maybe plain, like the stark whiteness of the original one. But that's the thing, right? you're like, no notes. Do that again, but also put on dream light. Like the lights are, you're right. That's the one thing that everybody is continually going, yes, bless you. Thank you for doing this. We appreciate it. However, while you're up there, please go ahead and make a way.
If you could just hang some lights.
If you could just put a few up. Yeah, if you could just do that, that would be
here and there.
Just a couple. Yeah, no big deal. That would be great. So another thing that they talked about during this was that they talked about drinks and food, and they did a whole thing called Disney Eats, and it was a panel called Disney Eats. So when you look at it on the agenda, you would just be like, okay, Disney Eats, what is that going to be? They went all out for Disney Eats. Like, they passed around popcorn from Starlight, that popcorn mix that they have for Starlight. Everybody got a box of it before it started. They had Smellitzers pushing the smell out into the audience, which was awesome. And then they brought out this guy, one of the Try Guys. I was not familiar. Are you guys familiar with the Try Guys? Yeah. Yeah, so he comes out to host. It did a great job. They had Mickey, Minnie, Chip, Dale. They had the band from Jollywood on the side of the stage. They had this huge screen in the back that they kept changing. They brought in chefs from different areas, from the cruise line, from Disneyland, from Disney World. And I was just like, what is even happening here? Like, this is the Disney Eats panel. And so one of the things that they talked about here were like the drinks that are coming to the Disney Destiny. And it was pretty neat. Like, there's this one glass that when you touch it, it has like the kind of that Tesla effect on it. There were some. Yeah, there was some that smoked. They talked about this new the Sanctum from Doctor Strange is going to be on there. There's going to be a Haunted Mansion parlor just like they have on the Treasure. The cask and cannon will be the sort of like the beak and barrel of the sea. And I was like, beak and barrel, cask and canyon, like I'm sensing a theme here. This one, like, the drinks come in this little chest here. And they talked about a few other things during the villains panel about the Destiny, but the drinks themselves, the Doctor Strange one, like, it sits on this levitating coaster and they put the drink on top of it. And it's just like, wait, what? It's a lot of work for all of them to be very Instagrammable. So, as an influencer, Patrick, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, sure. That's me. I love these drinks. I will probably never get them, or if by the time I get there, they will no longer be doing it because the Destiny will be 10 years old and I'll be riding it at a discount. Disney Cruise Line, man. I mentioned cruises before and how cruises are coming for the theme park. Disney Cruise Lines have seen the biggest enhancements out of all of the entertainment. They are in such good shape compared to what we have at the parks. And I wish I could afford them. They are incredibly expensive, but everyone says they're worth every dollar. I know you had a conversation with Rob Bazemore about it, and people rave about them. It's just so expensive, but they're doing it right. Like, the amount of style and panache that goes into all this stuff is great. I'm glad they did it up for the food panel. I love Disney food. It's such a huge part of the park experience.
Yeah, yes. Agree. They talked about fan favorites, and they did a countdown of the top 10 fan favorite snacks from around the world. And number one was the pickle milkshake. And my wife was
No.
like, she called shenanigans on that one. And I think it's definitely a conversation piece, at least. I'm sure everybody got one when they first came out, and they still bring them back every year. So obviously somebody's buying them if that's not the case. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, food's a big part of this whole thing. Yeah, Stephanie, what
On
are your
the on the
thoughts?
first day of Food and Wine, I was walking around. I'm shocked because I'm like, there's not hardly anybody, going up to these booths. There's a line of maybe 5 to 10 people per booth. Where are the people? It's the very first day. They were getting the pickle milkshakes. I'm telling you, the Odyssey was like out the door, around the corner. Like it was, you could not use it as a bypass for anything. But I will say, when we were at Epic, my husband kept walking around and going, "This is better than Disney. This is better than Disney. This is
Oh,
better
the
than Disney.
food?
This is better." No, just everything about Epic. And I said the one thing that Disney has on Epic is the food. That is the truth, because we ate at a few different places, and the one thing Disney really does well is the food.
I actually liked the walk-up food at Epic. I didn't do Atlantic, and I didn't do
We did
the Blue
Atlantic. That was
Dragon.
good.
But I didn't do either that one or the Blue Dragon, so I didn't get to see like
I
true
think
table service.
they
But,
don't
yeah.
have the iconic in-park snacks, and I don't know if
Right.
they will, because there's not 50 years behind it. A lot of the stuff at Harry Potter is very iconic,
It's true.
and I'm sure some of it will be at Epic. I know there's a couple things, but I think
Well, I was gonna
that's
say the
gonna be
butter
the
beer
big
for sure is, and
Butterbeer.
I would
That's
have
a good
agreed
one,
with
yeah.
you. I would have agreed with you
Yeah.
before that they like again. I think that Epic fixed a lot of things that Universal had problems with before, where they were. I know it's slightly off topic, but that the food wasn't awesome, the merchandise wasn't awesome. It's like you didn't really all the merchandise was generic. If you went to the Marvel Superhero
Right.
Island, you just got the same thing you'd get at Target. So I mean,
Yeah.
none of that was special. Only maybe the Harry Potter stuff was special for souvenirs. Everything else was pretty generic. And I feel like they fixed that a lot in Epic, and I think that the food that is the walk up seemed to me to be good. But again, it's been a minute since I was there, but I enjoyed the food that was there. However, I always thought that Patrick too about there wasn't really that thing, that iconic food that I wanted there. Butterbeer is good. Here now, I think that they've added that macaroni cone that you can get in Burke. I think that's sort of become also quietly
Everyone
become
had one of
that
those.
thing. Yeah,
stolen
exactly.
from Disney.
Oh, the hand sandwich, is that what it was?
No, the cozy cone.
Oh, the
No.
cozy cone.
Oh, the Coast Code. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the cozy cone's a little bit different, but yeah, no, I agree. I don't disagree. So part of the Disney Eats as well is that, and when this came up, my wife said, "You may need to leave the room. You may
Oh,
need
no.
to leave the room," because they were talking about the novelty items coming to the parks at Disney Cruise Line, and Disney Cruise Line. So. Man, this Mickey popcorn bucket, and yes, that is a popcorn bucket that looks like the Christmas tree truck. That's amazing. That's definitely on my list. They showed that off. These tiki mugs. I'm not a tiki mug guy, but those I can respect it. The Disney, these are the ones. These tikis from the Haunted Mansion parlor. This thing, I mean, they already do a water bottle that looks like this, but this is a popcorn bucket. And then this little green men's sipper, but this popcorn bucket with like Winnie the Pooh, where
Why
Piglet
are we
pops
eating
out,
out
is
of Pooh's
awesome.
butt? Why are we
It's
taking
off his-
popcorn out of Pooh's butt?
It's off his back, man. It's off his back. And
No,
then
it
this
is
bantha
not.
sipper.
It is in his tush.
Nah, man, that's off his back. By the way, I need to shout out my good friend Stephanie, because she, speaking of mugs, is that okay?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
She got me this from the Beak and Barrel. And oh my God, right? Like it's beautiful. It is amazing. I don't know that I knew that I needed it, but I wanted it. And now that I have it, I don't know how my life would be complete without it. I know that our good friend, Sienna is going to, Beak and Barrel, but yeah, that's awesome. So thank you, Stephanie, for that.
The Christmas Mickey pickup truck, man. Oh,
It's good.
Yes.
It's good.
So
good.
It is so good.
That's
and it
a
almost
decoration at your house. Just like
Yeah,
my
thank you.
gingerbread house is in. It's going to be part of my Christmas display every year. It's
There you
it's
go.
just something to put up with everything else.
But I'm gonna say that like it is Japan quality. This thing,
Oh,
like the
yeah.
detail. the detail on it.
We
Like,
got
look how it looks
lights.
a little like rough on the side. Like it's almost like a little dusty, like it's been down the
Patina.
dusty road. And
Yeah.
seeing Chip and Dale up there on the top of it and Goofy. And it's like, this seems like one of those things that you would find a new detail every time you looked at it. And I know our friend Jungle Cruiser is awesome at also picking up plastic, so I'm sure that you'll we'll have to, I think he was going to swear him off, but this one right here, this feels like worth the hype. So
It is.
the next thing that I want to talk about is something they talked about during the Disney Disney Studios panel, not the Disney Parks panel, and it's something that I am kind of like. Tron's a big deal for me, but they talked about Tron. They talked about the fact they're going to drop new DVDs, Blu-rays for the release of the new Tron movie Ares that comes out October 10th. They're going to release the first movie and the second movie in like new collector's editions. And I don't know if people still buy physical media. I think that if they were still buying it a lot, I would be the one buying it because I have so much of it. But I haven't. I may buy these because they look pretty amazing. But they announced this ride overlay. Now they're not calling it like a change. They're calling it an overlay for Tron Light Cycle Run at Magic Kingdom, where they're going to bring it to make it red, and then they're going to add the Nine Inch Nails music to it that they have here. So I love the blue. I think it looks beautiful, and the Daft Punk music is like, as you come in, is just amazing. But I'm excited about the fact that they're going to make this an overlay. Patrick, you and I have talked a lot of times about how Disney always has dropped the ball on the screen-based attractions, that they could change them more often than they do.
Yep.
And because they're a movie company and they're screen-based, you would think that they would do it more often. I don't know what all is entailed with this one other than the fact that we've seen the ride photo is going to be red and that the outside is going to be red. I hope they change the entire experience, but what are your thoughts here?
Even if they don't change the entire experience, the fact that they're doing this shows, Stephanie mentioned it earlier, that they're listening, and that when something new comes out, if it's an easy change, why aren't you doing it? And they did it. It's going to look great for however long it is. It's going to be red. It's going to have the soundtrack to Ares, which, how great are the Tron soundtracks?
So
and it's good to promote the movie that's coming up and to give people who come to your parks a different experience. I love it. I want to see more of it.
You like it? You love it? You want to see more of it? Is that what you're telling me? No? We're not doing that?
You love pop music,
all right.
man.
Stephanie.
Too many references there. I agree with Patrick. This is great. I love this. I think it's something that they could easily incorporate into like Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party every year after the premiere comes out and everything. So it would be something that, again, gives people who are there a lot or go maybe twice a year another reason to go and see this. So I love this. This is something they should be doing anyway.
Yeah, I agree. So the next thing I want to talk about here is the sorry, Stephanie, I know that's weird, and I just leave it on you for too long, and you're like, this is not necessarily a theme park thing, but they are doing something that, as theme park fans, we should be pretty excited about, which is Leslie Iwerks is doing a new documentary. She's the one that did the Imagineering story. It is Disneyland Handcrafted. And she was there and she talked about this. And what they did is they went back into the archives and they found a ton of footage of Disneyland being built. And then they got a lot of transcripts and things, and they put together the story. Now, I'm surprised that since this is like such a big deal that it is part of, I guess, the 70th anniversary if they let it, release it now. But I thought maybe this would have been great to release on, I don't know, the actual anniversary. But
we got
you
those
can watch
ride videos with Tiana not working.
Yeah. You can watch the trailer. The trailer's on YouTube, but again, it was really cool to me to be able to see some of this footage because I wasn't alive, contrary to popular belief, when Disneyland was opened. So it's neat to go back and see them putting this together because it's really a modern miracle. The fact that within a year's time they were like, you know what, we're going to do something never done before in the next 365 days. Go. and they stuck to their guns and they made sure that it was open, when it needed to be open. And even though there were some flaws and problems, you're always going to have those things happen. And it was just, it was really neat to see that footage, and I can't wait to see this one. Stephanie, I mean, I assume you enjoy going back and watching park documentaries and things like that, right?
Oh yes, and I follow Disney YouTubers that are Diz history and that kind of thing. So yeah, I do love this stuff. And I'm with you, Rob, because I love the fact that this again was done for the very first time. Don't tell me that you cannot do another Spectra Magic because it got left out in the rain. Well, how did you do it the first time? Because you did it the first time. Somebody created this. You could redo it. You could put the same kind of good quality parades out there. So don't give me that excuse unless we've just lost all creativity and, modernity has nothing to do with nostalgia anymore. And it's all just square buildings and, whatever, it's plain. But I don't think that that's true. Now, the more they use AI, the more I'm worried about this. So I'm glad that they're recording these historical documentaries. I'm glad that they're doing things that are, nostalgic, because again, yes, we were not alive during that time, but we have nostalgia for that era, and we have a remembrance and a reverence for the people that came before us. So I'm glad that they're doing this, and it's something I will definitely watch.
Yeah, Patrick?
100% I'm going to watch that. That's really cool. I wish they did this when new attractions came out. There's no reason that we know they're documenting it from like the moment. It would be wonderful to see some of this, what went into this attraction. They have this platform with Disney Plus with their name, their brand, and the park section is so paltry compared to everything else. They really could do more with that, and it's not expensive. This is not stuff that's going to cost you $1 million an episode. It's going to be cheap, and people are going to love it and watch it.
Well, and, to that point, I mean, Epic knew that was a thing. Again, they are owned by a TV movie company as well. And so when they put together Epic, they documented everything. We're building a brand new theme park. We have Steven Spielberg involved. We have all these other people, actors who are lending voices to, spiels and things like that. And so they captured it all. They had that one special that they ran, and now they're going to have like kind of a whole documentary thing on Peacock for it. And I'm excited to watch that. And like you said, like they have the footage, they have those things, they can let those go, put them out there. When I was done with the Imagineering story, I was like, I want more of this, and I'm glad that they've found this stuff. And again, seeing Becky Cline from the archives, who my wife is just so enamored by Becky Cline. She is the second lead of the archive after Dave Smith left it in her capable hands. And so the stuff that they have there, they have so many things that they could continually bring out and show, and they do. Those are the displays that you see. They had Charting the Course was a display they had at Destination D23, where the archives brought out some things and that fit the bill for the theme. They can do a lot of stuff and continually show us that stuff, and it's basically content they already have. So very excited about that. The last thing I want to talk about here from their announcements was something that Jungle Cruiser mentioned early on, which was the announcement of the animatronic for Walt in California. They made that announcement at D23 Expo last year. And everybody afterwards was like, do we want this? Would Walt have wanted this? Did we ask him? And my thought was, did we ask Abe Lincoln if he wanted that? And then even further, I'm like, wait a minute, Great Movie Ride. Did John Wayne get permit? Like, did he want that? Did he always say, I really hope that I'm an animatronic later? Those.
I am asking for that. Make me an animatronic.
Okay. Let's get that in early. Let's get it. Oh, it's documented now. So yeah. And
posterity.
Stephanie, do you want that too? Do you need to be an animatronic?
I don't need to be. No.
I think a lot of people feel like Walt is our, he's our guy, right? He is like just. I don't know the word I'm looking for, and I'm trying to stay away from a word that would lean into deity. But he's very special to us. So he has a very special place in our heart,
The figurehead.
and we want to make sure that he is
Yes.
that he is not misrepresented. I think that there is a level of reverence in that theater on Main Street in Disneyland, and when you walk into it and you watch it, whether it's Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln or Walt Disney, when you watch it, there is some reverence in there, and you feel it, and you feel the respect in the room. And when you watch it, I liked it. Now, again, whether Walt would have wanted that, a lot of people are like, well, he didn't want this, and but he's a figure here. So what they're talking about doing is they're talking about taking that idea and doing it also in Florida. And having it be that opening scene of the Carousel of Progress. And if you've ever been to Carousel of Progress, and if you hadn't, you're probably not watching this, but if you have ever been in Carousel of Progress, at the very opening scene where like the curtain opens up and they just have the gear logo and they're like, well, Walt loved blah, blah, blah. So that scene is going to be actually Walt telling you about his plans for the Carousel of Progress or his thoughts on progress or moving forward and things like that. So, I mean, I'm embellishing here because they certainly didn't go that deep into what they were doing. They just like, we're going to redo the Carousel of Progress and Walt's coming. So here's the version of Walt that they're going to have, and it's Uncle Walt in his sweater and his tie, as opposed to the gray suit that he's wearing in the one in California. But it doesn't really tell us too much other than that they're going to update this attraction. So I guess thoughts, Stephanie, on the Walt thing, but also what would you like to see them do as far as updating the rest of the attraction? Do we keep the rest of the scenes for the 1900s, the 20s, and the 40s, and then just update the last scene? What are you... Imagineer all of this for me. Imagineer this, if you will.
So I'm of two minds about this. I initially said no, hands off, don't touch my Carousel of Progress is what I said. But now I'm going, okay, I guess if I were Imagineering this, I would say I would prefer it to be an opening scene of his video of him talking about the Carousel of Progress instead of an animatronic of him, because that makes him feel on the same plane and the same level as the rest of the ride. And again, like you said, not a deity, right? But he was a real person, and we have video of him speaking to us directly as the audience, as the consumer. And I don't know that is going to, I don't know what it's going to do to like have kids watch it and think, oh, he's just another animatronic. So there's that. If they use his real voice and his real footage of him speaking like they did at Disneyland, maybe that could work, but it's questionable. I don't want them to touch anything that Walt had already put into place, right? Like I don't want it to modify from the rest of the scenes. Certainly don't want them to take out the birds and the Mary Poppins birds, the robins. So yes, maybe you could update the Christmas scene, because we do have AI now. We do have automated Alexas and Google Homes and things that burn the turkey for us, so maybe they could update that. But I don't really want them to touch the jokes or the years and display that they have right now, because it's, they're taking you through those special times for a reason, electricity inventions and, all of that. So I feel like let's keep it the same as it is now and then add to it, plus it out, don't change it completely.
So just so I can recap before I throw this to Patrick, you said that in the opening scene, you prefer screen-based rather than physical. That's what I'm hearing you say, right? You said you would rather it be screen-based than a physical animatronic.
When it comes to Walt,
that's just making sure.
I will say there is a bust of Walt that was done, I think, in the 1990s, and it's in the opening of the Hall of Presidents. It is spot on. Like, why did they not use that bust for the mold of the animatronic in Disneyland? Honestly, I don't get it. Just use that, guys.
Again, I know everybody was joking on. I've made this note many times. Everybody was joking on social media the day after they showed it and said, "Oh, it's the My Pillow guy." But when you see it in person, it does feel different. I will say that. Again, the photos I think don't necessarily do it justice when you see it in person, and maybe it's just because you get a feeling. You suspend all disbelief at that point, which Patrick always accuses me on a look on the plus side of never doing. But I feel like I did, like, there were no rules, Patrick. I just suspended disbelief and just went with it that Walt was there. But no, I wanted to joke about that. But back to the time periods. My thought process is there were 4 showrooms, right? And so in the original 1964 World's Fair, you had the 1900s, 20 years later in the 1920s, 20 years later in the 1940s, and 20 years later in the year that we were in and beyond in the 1960s. So it made sense that it was a 20-year jump each way. Now, if you don't move that way, you're going to have 1900s, the 20s, the 40s, and the 2025s? I mean, that's almost like an 85-year jump? Like, yeah. So, I mean, but I agree with you. It's like watching grandma play that the world's worst graphic video game is there's something about it that's somewhat charming, but also this is not the original. This is not the original. So that's the other thing too, is they redid this back in the 90s, because before that, the one I grew up with was Now Is the Time. Like, it was not this one. So, I mean, they did return the original song. So, like, this isn't necessarily what Walt touched either. So, Patrick, I'm sorry. Go ahead and tell me all the things you think I said.
No, I like the conversation, and the conversation's real lively in the chat as well. Dawn said the same thing you were saying, that there's that huge gap of time. And I don't know if they could put another stage in there. To me, that's the solution. To me, that makes this attraction untouchable. It already should be, but to update it, if you have Walt at the beginning and the end, and you have him introduce it at the end, you say, now we've come past that time and we're going to keep moving forward. And just, you can, again, screen based, you can flash up like all sorts of different technologies that may be coming. There's a way to do it with being respectful to the attraction and making sure that it's a timeless attraction that doesn't feel stuck in one particular time and place. I love that attraction. I would be heartbroken if anything ever happened to it. Like, just leave it as long as you're updating it and make sure it stays for a long time.
And they seem to understand that, right? They seem to understand that it has a special place in Disney fans' hearts, and it was moved from Disneyland to Disney World for a reason, so that a piece of Walt's legacy, an actual piece of it, lived in. So even if we change the show scenes, the show itself is still a Walt product. From the 1964 World's Fair. So, we don't have the diorama, the primeval world like they do. We don't have the great moments with Mr. Lincoln, the original, and we don't have the original It's a Small World. We have knockoffs of all of those things. Well, we did have the primeval world knockoff, and they shut that down and built a space station. So I honestly think that I'm going to want to go. I like that people still go to it, but I think they're going to want to go back to it more. And I'm glad they're doing this instead of shutting it down.
Yes.
So this is what I think they could have done with the Great Movie Ride, is that they could have, updated it, and they never did. And I would love to see this kind of get the care it deserves. We may hate it. Yeah. We'll circle back around when this finishes, and they never said when it was starting, nor did they say when it was finishing.
Or if it'll even really happen.
We'll see you in 2035.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they have talked about things that didn't end up happening too, but yeah.
Pixie
All right, so
Hollow.
the Pixie Hollow.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Main Street Theater, and let's just take turns going around of all the things that they said. Mary Poppins, we'll start with that, and then we'll go around and all the things that were going to happen and didn't happen. We'll do that. So I could talk about that whole situation for long periods of time, but I'm glad that it'll be interesting to see what they're doing to it. They've threatened to update that attraction for a long time, and I don't think you can separate that and put in new pieces of pie. I think it's going to be as many theaters as are there now as will continue to be there. So the last thing I want to talk about is Villains Land, because that was the thing that we were sure. We did an hour
Villains themed land. Rob.
Oh, my bad. Yes, you're right. You're right. It says that right on the screen. I don't know how I could have been so wrong. They led me down this path, Patrick. So when we were when they talked about the fact that there was no parks panel, we did a kind of our predictions show of the Park Adventurers Club 2 weeks before this happened, and we were like, what do we think our predictions are going to be? I think a lot of people did, but we were like, okay, we still think there's going to be some announcements, and what do we think they're going to be? And we talked about it and kind of came up with it, and none of those things happened. By the way, everything that they pulled out of their pockets for this was completely different. I wasn't like. TRON was not on my bingo card, nor was the Carousel, nor was the Mickey Christmas tree popcorn bucket. Like, those things were not on the list. But I was 100% sure that with a 45-minute villains panel, that they were definitely going to show concept art, give us more about the attractions that are coming, talk more about everything. But Patrick, my friend, we got Zach Ridley'd. We got Zach Ridley'd. And
there was no floor. There was
no
floor involved.
No,
architecture.
It's architecture. It's worse. It's worse because it's not even, this is specifically the floor. This is not specifically the tile you're looking for. This is the general gist of what we think we
this
might.
Is our vibe right now. Here's what's on our vision board.
Yeah, exactly. Here's what's on our vision board. So they showed what they called and coined conjured architecture. Conjured architecture. So they paid to send the Imagineers around the world to find like examples of conjured architecture, where like the architecture seems to be like living and breathing out of the buildings in some magical, mystical way. And I was like, okay, I got you. And I was actually like live tweeting. I was like, yep, all right, cool. They're about to talk about villains themed land. And then then they were like, so that's all we've got. Now here's this Ursula doll. And I was like, wait. So I'm like, backspace, and just because honestly, I was expecting there to be more. But the 45-minute panel started with a beautifully done Broadway production where they sang all the villain songs. And Susan Egan, who is petitioning to be Mother Gothel, and I love the idea of that, in a live-action Tangled, sang Mother Knows Best and killed it. So no shade to the team that sang. They had these 4 like gothic chairs out on the stage, and then they brought out this girl who, again, I don't know her, but she's from Challenge Accepted, which apparently is also sort of a viral YouTube thing. Hate to feel out of touch on all that stuff, but they were like, here's the challenge accepted. And they're like, I'm here. Okay. But she did a great job, but she hosted this panel, and then they just brought people in. They're like, here are the bath and beauty products we're going to be doing. And here's this Ursula doll we're going to be selling. And here's the conjured architecture. And now a song from Susan Egan. And it was like, I thought this was all going to, I really thought it was going to be more. Stephanie, did you think they were going to be talking more about villains themed land in this one, or just me?
You can only hope, and I'm sorry that you were let down, Rob, for your expectations were
Thank
too
you.
high.
That's all I need. I just needed somebody to apologize for my time.
Oh. But I will say the Disney is constantly touting that they are, story based. Like, it's all about the story. We're bringing the stories to life. We're putting you in the middle of immersing you into the story. Where's the story? Like, that's really what we want you to lead with, Disney. We want it to be beautiful. Don't get me wrong. The one thing I will say about Epic is you got to go there in person. And I'm bringing this in, off topic a little bit, but the walkthroughs, the POVs are great. And I watched a bunch of them before we went because I wanted to know where to start and that kind of thing. But walking through just the Paris section, the Harry Potter area, what Fantastic Beasts, it was amazing. It was full scale. It was no forced perspective. It was phenomenal. It felt like I was walking the streets of Paris, back in the 1920s or whatever. It was amazing. And you wanted to just spend time there. And the one that blew me away the most, honestly, was Darkmoor. And I just was like, we've got to go. We go it back 2 or 3 times. I was like, I have to go back at night and just see how it's lit up and everything. And that's what you want. You want people to want to spend time in those areas. And they talk about Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and just being kind of flat and plain, and there's not enough shade, and same thing at Toy Story. It's beautiful, but you want people to be able to spend a lot of time there. There's no shade there. Same thing with this one. Okay, show us the architecture, but tell us what the story is going to be. Tell us why we want to immerse ourselves in that land for long periods of time. And it just kind of gives me twinges of uh, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, how they sent everybody on a trip to New Orleans and they were doing all this research by tasting the food and listening to the bands and the music and stuff. And I'm like, the story's not there, y'all. I mean, we rode that ride and 3 animatronics were working, the rest of them weren't. And the story still just, listen to a bunch of different kinds of Zydeco music and different things. And the kids don't know what that is. So I want them to lead with story. I want it to be beautiful. I want to be able to spend a lot of time there. I also really want it to be good conquering evil. I don't want it to be evil just running rampant and evil is the best or whatever. Enjoy the story of the way the villains are made, I guess, but I don't want, in the end the good does conquer evil in all these movies, and I don't want them to lose sight of that.
Okay. Patrick?
To me, the real most important part is they called it the villains themed land. That to me, I'm not joking, because that means it's not just going to be called Villains Land. That means it's going to have a different name that's going to tie into a theme. And I'm wondering, what's the name? What's the theme going to be? Showing me this architecture is great, but how did it get here? Why is it here? And what's our story behind it? There's a great story behind how Storybook Circus got in place. There's details in the lore of the parks that you need to connect. And why is it here? How did it get out behind Big Thunder Mountain? How does it connect to everything else? I'm interested in that, the lore of it, and more than the attractions. I totally agree with Stephanie. We've had so many stories trying to humanize people who murder puppies instead of just saying,
right.
Yeah, she's a bad person, she likes to murder puppies. And I don't want that. I don't want revisionist history in here. I don't want to see Maleficent. The one thing I'll say is, if you give me the VKs from all the oh my god, I can't think of the movies. It's been so long. All the Descendants movies, I will be so happy. Maybe it's the Isle of the Lost. Maybe that's the theme.
Yes.
Give me the VKs.
Yes.
That's all right with me. But I don't want. I'm not going to feel for Chernobog because he's a giant monster that has like a splinter that made him upset and made him evil. I let the bad people be bad.
Well, here's the thing, Patrick. Do not go see the villain show at Hollywood Studios then, because
I'm not.
That's all it is. It's they're the
I'm
most
not.
they who's the most unfairly treated of all, and they're just.
Listen,
I'm just going to go there and look where they can put Muppets. Go ahead, Stephanie. I'm sorry.
That's 100% true. So listen, over at Darkmoor, I'm just going to talk about Darkmoor. I just loved it. I wanted to ride that. The
Welcome to
Monsters
Stephanie's
Unchained
TED Talk on Epic Universe.
3-4 times in a row. I didn't want to leave. I honestly, and I'm not a big horror person. I'm not a big, but that ride was phenomenal. I'm just going to say that it was, and it wasn't even 100%. Oh my gosh. It broke down when we were in line for it. And it was like, we don't know when it's going to come up and everything. So we just kind of took a tour of, because a lot of people left. So we took a tour of the queue, and the queue itself is fantastic. And then it came back up and we were like, yay, so we can get right on. I wanted to stay on that ride and just see all the details. The animatronics were huge, but in the end, Victoria Frankenstein's monster, a monster, was the good guy, and you were still defeating evil. You were still defeating the evil of Dracula and all of his minions and things. So there was still that plot line, that storyline throughout. So I definitely don't want to see a giant land filled with like Patrick said, I have to kill those puppies. Let me tell you why it's important. I don't want to hear that.
Cruella de Vil's Puppy Mill. It's the newest log flume.
Oh gosh, that's terrible.
Puppy Mill. Wow. Anyway, by the way, just a shout out to the Monsters Unchained, the Frankenstein Experiment won the Golden Ticket Award for Best Dark Ride from Amusement Today, and so Best Dark Ride. I told that to my wife, and she's like, I agree, and she hates Forbidden Journey. And so the fact that she wanted to get on this one over and over again, I'm like, she's like, this is fantastic. And like, she loved it. And it may be her favorite attraction of all time. And she is a huge Harry Potter fan. And when we went to the Harry Potter attraction at Epic, she was like, this is good, that's better. And so she
I
was like,
100% agree.
yeah. So, yeah, it's pretty awesome. And you're right. You know what, Patrick? This kind of reminds me of the Spider-Man conundrum, right? We know that there is the perfect Spider-Man ride exists, and it's at Universal in Florida. And then they were like, we can build a Spider-Man attraction in California. We have no rights issues here. We're going to build one. And they built Toy Story Mania with your hands is what they built. And so it's crazy. And again, I don't hate it as far as the pre-show is kind of cool and the ride is all right, but you could have done so much better. And so now that we have this villain's land, kind of Darkmoor, that's not apologetic. It's not saying, you know what, let's be kind to Dracula. He's had a bad day. It really is kind of like that fear and the things that you guys are talking about that you want. It exists in Darkmoor. So we want our Disney villains to be placed in an immersive world like this. Although I did see somebody in chat say, well, let them win every now and then. But again, I agree with you that it should be I'm getting back to the fact that I expected them to have more, and if they don't have more at this point that they can show us now, I don't want it to be a thing like the Main Street, the stuff we talked about earlier, all the announcements that they made that never come true. But they've made a commitment to this. They're draining the rivers of America. They've set up trailers and they're starting to carve out land. That's happening. If they don't know enough about what they're doing right now, this thing is, again, we're looking 2035.
For sure.
If the plan's still iffy, but we're already moving land, that doesn't bode well. So I don't know. I mean, again, it's frustrating as a Disney fan because you want the information. You want to know the new thing. You want it. You love it when some blog leaks information, and then at the same time, you're like, but you told me about this 6 years ago, and it's still not done. As opposed to when Universal made the Velocicoaster. I always bring that up. They didn't announce it until it was basically almost done. And they're like, what roller coaster? We don't know what you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the problem with Disney is that the announcements ahead of time and you have all this speculation and you have all this anticipation, and then they don't have their plan fully flushed out, and then you're left with something disappointing. So do like Epic, do like Universal, and don't announce things until you've had this fully realized and flushed out idea.
Yep. All right, I'm going to get final thoughts from you guys. We run a little bit long tonight. I apologize for that, but it's always fun talking to you guys about Disney stuff or theme parks in general. And thank you to our PAC, our Park Adventurers Club. Thank you guys so much for being with us. We love it when you're hanging out with us in the chat and giving your comments and all of that stuff and hanging out with us and being part of our community. So thank you so much. If you want to learn more about how to become part of that community, you go to patreon.com/GoPack. You can get in pretty cheap and be part of our Discord, and then also if you get in at the higher levels, we got buttons and stickers because we love swag, and so thank you guys for being members of our community, and a special shout out to our Zebra Mezzanine and Treasure Room supporters who help us to do this Park Adventurers Club and bring this stuff to you. So thank you guys so much for doing that. Programming wise, tomorrow night I'm going to drop a full review of my thoughts on kind of a recap of D23, Destination D23, just my personal thoughts on it, and share with you guys what went down. A little bit of a haul. We'll drop that tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Hopefully you guys check it out. And then on Wednesday night, we're going to be doing Ice Age as our look on the plus side with Charlie, who has a paleontology background and totally pwned me immediately out of the gate when I was talking to him. And I said, hey, you want to do this movie? It's about dinosaurs. You like dinosaurs. He goes, it's not about dinosaurs. And I'm like, wait.
It's not about dinosaurs.
I was like, oh, that's right. It's not about dinosaurs. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. So we're going to talk about it. And then,
God bless you for watching that one. I'm glad I'm not the Ice Age correspondent.
Last Friday, well, I told him he's got to be now. And I mean, they announced a new one, so there's going to be 6. So he's got a lot of work ahead of him. Plus the Halloween, plus the Christmas special and the Easter special. And then if you missed it last Friday night, we had the Happiest Stays with with Shannon. That's her new show where she talked about the All-Star movies. And then the week before that, Stephanie had her show Castaways with Jake and talked to him about his experiences at the, as a cast member. So thank you to everyone who's putting together the content. Hopefully you guys come watch it. It's at parkadventuresclub.com. Patrick's working on some stuff too, I know. So we'll be giving you as much content as we possibly can because we love having you guys come back and hang out with us. But I want to get one final thought from each of you guys on tonight's topic, which is, again, your basically just your overall. I mean, we gave our individual reactions, but just your overall reactions to Destination D23 as the park members and Park Adventure Club members in quorum here tonight. I will start with you, Stephanie, and just tell me what your as soon as I can find where you are. I'm hiding. You're hiding. There it is. All right. Give me your thoughts on this.
Well, if you can't tell, I really enjoyed my time at Epic.
That's not what this is about.
I know. We'll definitely have to go back. But my first initial, idea or thought that came into my head when I walked in is you have to be there. And I said this earlier, we watched a lot of POV videos. We watched a lot of walkthroughs and things like that, especially when it first opened because we couldn't be there in May. But you really do have to experience it in person. And it is, in some areas it was smaller than I thought it would be. And in other areas it was much more grand. And so I'm reserving my ideas and my anticipations of everything that Disney has announced until I can see it in person. And that's really where I'm going to stop.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a fair assessment, I guess. And Mr. Hackett?
Why do they do D23? Is it just to fill some space? Is it just to get some money? I mean, they didn't make any significant announcements. You didn't have to make a huge one. You have D23 next year, which you'll obviously do, and then cut those announcements to shreds, or tell us you're replacing something beloved to wait for them.
Yeah.
I just think that this is a colossal waste if they're not going to do anything significant at it. Give the people at least a little something. Some changing lights and changing paints aren't it. The biggest takeaway I got from this is it's a villain-themed land that's going to have a different name and its own story. So I'm hopeful for that, and I'm hopeful for my Yzma and Kronk roller coaster.
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what, Patrick, I do think that this is a fan event, and I think that we've gotten so used to hearing those big announcements at D23 Expo that we expect them at Destination, but it's a much smaller event than those, but it's really more. Yeah, and again, I'll talk about it and give you guys kind of my rundown of the whole thing tomorrow night, because I do think there is sort of a disconnect of then if you're not going to tell us news, why did you have the thing, but also at the same time there's a lot that you learn at these, and I think those of us who thirst for the documentaries and more parks content and things like that, it's great because it's all the worlds of Disney. It's not just Disney World and Disneyland and even the parks around the world are talked about, but it's also like the history and the movies and Broadway and all of those things wrapped into a 2-day weekend. 3 if you're going shopping, and my God, wait till I tell you guys about the shopping stuff. It is crazy. But again, I would love to hear what everybody else here has to say. Like, please leave us your comments below. Tell us what you think about, like, did you expect there to be more from Destination D23? Are you excited about the things that they did drop? What kind of things are you looking forward to from the things they talked about? Which popcorn buckets do I need to buy? All that kind of stuff. So it'll be great. But thank you so much to everybody in the pack for being pack members. Thank you guys for being here in the chat. And hopefully we'll see you guys for the drop tomorrow night, and then also on Wednesday night, and come back here again next Sunday night at 8:30 for another meeting of the Park Adventures Club. Until then, remember, adventure is out there. Have a good one. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Patrick. You guys are awesome.
I don't know the music well enough to sing it yet, Rob. I'll get there.
Just say dum da da dum.